Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and like this video, because what I'm about to reveal could save you months, maybe even years of heartbreak. Listen closely, because most men never notice the subtle words women use when they're emotionally checked out. And yet, these words scream louder than any action. If you've been feeling confused, frustrated, or trapped in the limbo of mixed signals, it's not you. It's the language she's using, and I'm going to break it down for you. The first thing you need to understand is that women communicate rejection in ways most men overlook. They won't always say, "I'm not interested." That would be too easy, too direct. Instead, they'll use phrases that feel almost harmless at first. Phrases like, "I'm really busy right now," or "I don't know if I'm ready for anything serious." On the surface, these might seem situational, but psychologically, they're creating emotional distance. Every time you hear them, your brain reacts with hope, thinking, maybe next time. And that's exactly the trap. What you're feeling in these moments, anxious, uncertain, desperate to prove your worth, is exactly what she expects. Women instinctively recognize when a man will fight for her attention versus walk away. And when she says these words, she's testing your boundaries. It's not about you being inadequate. It's about her determining if you're willing to chase someone who isn't willing to meet you halfway. This is the subtle cruelty of female psychology in dating. She doesn't have to reject you outright to pull the emotional strings. Now, here's a truth most men never admit to themselves. Hearing these words repeatedly erodes your self-esteem, slowly convincing you that maybe you aren't enough. And once that seed of doubt is planted, it's nearly impossible to make objective decisions about her intentions. That's why recognizing these words is crucial. You need to understand them not as an invitation, but as a signal. And the sooner you decode this, the sooner you can reclaim your power, stop wasting your time, and stop giving energy to someone who's already checked out. If you've ever felt confused, overthinking, or emotionally exhausted after talking to a woman, it's because these words are designed to create dependency, not connection. And trust me, the moment you see them for what they truly are, you'll start protecting yourself from heartbreak in ways most men never even consider. Let's get real. There are phrases women use that seem innocent, almost casual, but underneath they're red flags screaming, "I'm not invested." The first one is, "I'll let you know." Think about it. When someone cares, they give clarity. They don't leave you hanging in the limbo of uncertainty. That little phrase? It's a psychological tactic. It keeps you thinking about her, checking your phone, replaying conversations in your head. It keeps you engaged without her having to put in real effort. You're the one doing all the emotional labor, while she remains comfortably detached. Then there's the classic, "I just want to be friends." On paper, friendship sounds harmless, but psychologically it's a fence. She's drawing a line, and every time you ignore it, you're training yourself to chase someone who isn't available. The danger here isn't that she said it. It's that your hope convinces you it's temporary, that maybe she'll change her mind. And that's where most men fall into the trap. Emotional energy is finite, and chasing someone who's already withdrawn will leave you depleted, bitter, and frustrated. Another phrase to watch for is, "I don't want to rush things." Sounds romantic, right? But here's the truth. When it's paired with inconsistency, fluctuating attention, vague texts, cancelled plans, it's no longer about patience, it's about avoidance. Women instinctively test boundaries, and if a man accepts endless delays without consequences, she unconsciously reinforces the idea that she can keep him dangling. You need to understand that in female psychology, words like this aren't innocent. They're measuring your willingness to tolerate uncertainty. Then there's the seemingly sweet, "I'm just not ready for a relationship right now." The problem is the word "right now." Right now is never a fixed point. If she truly cared, she would make room, create time, or at least communicate clearly. Instead, these words are a buffer, a way to avoid direct rejection while still keeping you interested. Your emotional brain wants to fill in the blanks with hope, But hope in this context is a slow, invisible trap. Here's what you must internalize. These words are not just words. They are emotional signals. They tell you where you stand without her ever having to say it bluntly. And if you ignore them, you're willingly stepping into a pattern of self-doubt and emotional drain. Recognizing them is not about being cynical. It's about self-preservation. The men who see this clearly are the ones who never waste their prime years on someone who isn't fully committed. Here's the part most men completely miss. It's not just the words, it's the way she says them. A pause before, "I'll think about it." A hesitant tone when she says, "Maybe later." Or the almost imperceptible sigh after, "I'm busy this week." These are the cracks in her emotional availability. Female psychology is wired to communicate more through subtle cues than through direct statements. And if you don't notice them, you're blind to the truth of her feelings. Every hesitation, every filler word, every vague response is a psychological marker. It signals disinterest, testing your patience and your emotional investment. Women instinctively measure how much effort a man will put in to chase someone who isn't fully present. If you match her half-hearted engagement with over-eagerness, you're essentially proving her point. You're disposable until she decides otherwise. And the more you try to win her over, the deeper you fall into the trap. Consider the phrase, "I don't know what I want." On the surface, it seems like she's confused or exploring her options. But listen closely. Women often use this line not to explore, but to maintain control of the situation. She's signaling that she's keeping her options open while gauging how much attention and emotional energy you will invest without a guarantee of reciprocity. Most men interpret this as a challenge, thinking, "If I show more value, she'll choose me." But the truth, value alone won't change her lack of emotional alignment. Then there's the dangerous territory of mixed messages. One day she's warm, flirty, engaged. The next, distant, cold, or unavailable. Mixed signals aren't just confusing, they're a psychological game. She's testing your boundaries, measuring how much you'll tolerate uncertainty. And here's the kicker. Men often blame themselves, wondering if they've done something wrong, when in reality, this is her way of asserting control without having to confront her own feelings. Recognizing these subtleties is what separates men who waste years chasing false hope from those who see the truth immediately. Once you understand the tone, the hesitation, the selective engagement, you stop assigning meaning where there is none. You start protecting your time, your energy, and your heart. Because ultimately, words alone can't hurt you, but ignoring their underlying intent will. Now let's talk about emotional manipulation, disguised as casual conversation. These are the phrases that seem harmless, but are designed to keep you invested while she maintains control. The first one is, "You're such a great guy." Sounds nice, right? But psychologically, it's often a stop sign disguised as a compliment. She's validating you just enough to keep you interested, while making it clear that she doesn't feel the romantic spark she should. Most men hear this and think, "I just need to try harder." But the truth is, she's already drawn her boundary, and no amount of effort will change her feelings. Another one to watch for is, "I just want to have fun right now." It seems casual, maybe even exciting, but what it really communicates is, "I don't see a future here with you." It's a permission slip to invest emotionally in uncertainty. Your mind interprets fun as connection, closeness, and potential. But her psychology is sending the opposite message. She wants attention without commitment. If you ignore this signal, you're walking into emotional drain. Then there's, "I like you, but I'm not ready for a relationship." Repeating what we've touched on, but this phrase deserves a deep dive. The word "but" is a pivot. It's a subtle psychological barrier, a wall between your desire and her availability. Men often focus on, "I like you," and ignore everything that follows. The truth is, she's giving you just enough to keep hope alive, while keeping the real answer safely out of reach. Here's the psychological twist. Women instinctively test how much a man values her attention. The more you rationalize, justify, or chase after her vague promises, the more entrenched you become in her game. She doesn't need to lie outright. She simply uses words to manipulate your emotional investment while she maintains full control. And men, blinded by desire, rarely see the trap until it's too late. The key to breaking free is recognizing the difference between genuine interest and strategic ambiguity. If she repeatedly says things that maintain emotional distance while offering intermittent closeness, it's not a reflection of your value, it's a reflection of her disinterest. Protecting your boundaries doesn't make you cold or cynical, it makes you aware. It makes you a man who refuses to waste his prime years on someone who's unwilling to fully show up. Because once you see the patterns, once you understand the psychology, you reclaim your emotional power, and she no longer controls your mind or your feelings. Now, let's uncover the phrases that are the final, undeniable signs she's emotionally checked out, even if she hasn't said it outright. These are the words that most men ignore, convincing themselves there's still hope, when in reality, the relationship, or potential for one, is already over in her mind. The first one is, "I don't want to lead you on." On the surface, it sounds caring, almost noble. But psychologically, it's a boundary cloaked in guilt. She's signaling that she's already detached, and any emotional energy you invest is wasted. Most men hear this and respond with reassurance, trying harder, not realizing this is her way of politely drawing a line without confrontation. Another phrase to watch for is, "I just need some space." Again, space sounds neutral, even reasonable, but context matters. If she repeatedly asks for distance while maintaining minimal connection, it's not a temporary pause, it's a sign she's emotionally disengaged. Men interpret space as an opportunity to prove their value, but the reality is that she's testing whether you will tolerate absence without acknowledgement of her lack of commitment. Most men fail this test because they equate persistence with strength, when in fact, persistence in the wrong context only deepens the emotional trap. Then there's, "I think we're better as friends." It's a classic line, and yet so many men miss the urgency behind it. It's not just about friendship, it's her subconscious saying she's already decided you're not part of her romantic future. Anything beyond this point becomes wishful thinking. Your hope may whisper, maybe she'll change her mind. But her words and behavior are telling a different story, a story of disengagement and selective emotional investment. Lastly, pay attention to vague future talk. Maybe we'll see what happens later, or we'll cross that bridge when we get there. These phrases are intentionally non-committal. They keep you mentally hooked while she preserves her freedom. Men often misinterpret this as an open door, when psychologically, it's a closed gate wrapped in uncertainty. The more you chase, the more you tie your emotional state to her inconsistency, the more power she holds over your mind. Recognizing these words, and the energy behind them, is the ultimate act of self-respect. It's the moment you stop rationalizing, stop overthinking, and start reclaiming your time, your focus, and your emotional energy. A man who understands this doesn't beg, doesn't chase blindly, and certainly doesn't allow ambiguity to dictate his self-worth. He walks away when the signs are clear, leaving behind confusion, manipulation, and wasted effort, and he does it without regret. Here's the hard truth most men refuse to face. Once you recognize these words for what they truly are, your only path to emotional freedom is action. Stop rationalizing her behavior. Stop hoping she'll change. Stop giving your energy to someone who's already detached. Women respect men who value themselves, not men who chase uncertainty. When she says, "I'm not ready," or "I just want to be friends," your response isn't to convince her, it's to honor your own worth. That's where true power lies. Confidence isn't about being unaffected by rejection. It's about understanding that her words do not define your value. Every time you ignore red flags, you're teaching her, and more importantly, yourself, that your happiness is negotiable. But a man who sees the truth doesn't negotiate. He protects his heart, his time, and his energy. You begin to walk away from ambiguity, leaving behind the exhausting cycle of hope and disappointment. And when you do this, you don't just survive emotionally, you thrive. It's also about discipline, emotional discipline. You can't control her feelings, but you can control your reaction. Every word she says that hints at disinterest is a test of that discipline. If you respond with over-eagerness, excuses, or desperation, you reinforce her distance. But if you respond with calm, clarity, and self-respect, you flip the dynamic. You are no longer at her mercy. You are in charge of your own emotional reality. That's the essence of masculine power in dating. And here's the final secret most men never grasp. True attraction isn't built on chasing. It's built on presence, consistency, and boundaries. Women are drawn to men who can maintain their composure, who know their worth, and who refuse to be pulled into games. When you recognize the words that signal disinterest and respond by protecting your energy rather than begging for attention, you do something almost magical. You reclaim your life. You free yourself from confusion, obsession, and wasted time. Remember, this isn't about cynicism. It's about clarity. It's about seeing people, and yourself, accurately. When a woman's words reveal she's not invested, the strongest response is not anger, guilt, or persuasion. It's detachment paired with self-respect. That's how you stop being the man caught in the emotional trap and become the man who dictates the rules, sets the standards, and refuses to settle for less than he deserves. If you take one thing from this video, let it be this. Words are powerful, but your response to them defines your reality. See the signs, honor your boundaries, and walk away when necessary. That is how you protect your heart, master female psychology, and finally step into the confident, respected, and unshakable version of yourself.